That's right, the Awesome Blossoms are back, and the Nuzlocke series is back. After the defeat we won't speak about, we're going to try an Omega Ruby Nuzlocke, so let's jump right back into it. It's going to be a juicy one. But first, as per usual, rules. We're going to play in set mode, and we can't use items in battle, we can't level past the next team leader's ace, only one Pokemon per route, and it has to be the first encounter, and all fights are to death. Pokemon dies, it's dead, and it goes to the box on the left, so let's go! So we make the trip to Hoenn during one of the most meta intros for a remake, for some reason in the back of the truck, because our mum didn't consider us worthy of a front seat. We spend no time unpacking anything, and we still miss our father on TV. This time we're not going to be an orphan, but still, our parents are not going to care that much about what we do. So we go look for the tree named Professor number 3, and we find... Wait, you're not Dotsa, but... Oh, May. Right, sorry, force a habit. She seems nice though. Anyway, it turns out the professor is kind of useless as he gets jumped by a Puchiana, but he lets us choose our first Pokemon in Hoenn, and we go straight to Lizard. So we get rid of the dog, and the professor gives us Splinter the Trico and tasks us to find May. I guess the gift comes with conditions. So we make it to May, and we beat her and the nepotism she represents. Who knew being the professor's daughter came with a Pokemon for free? Well, we had to get a dog to get it. And now we're ready to go. We get the Pokedex and some balls, and we are good to actually start our Nuzlocke. Not before our mum shows us how much, and she sent us to fight monsters in the wild. So, first encounter, a Zigzagoon named Rocket, right before May shows us how to use the Deck Snap. And one thing is going to be using this, and the other thing is going to be being as subtle as a brick, but we'll get there. In Route 103, we find a Wingull named Moin, and on Route 102, we get super lucky, so we could get a Rolls. But who wants the cute Martian that turns into furry bait when you can have a Wurmple that guarantees you get a Tailo on Route 104? And if the Wurmple turns to be a Dustox, we'd have a massive help for beating up that fat beast. So we go see our absent father, and we find the aftermath of his abuse towards this child, and we get another task. Take this kid on a hunt. He does get the small alien, and we're on our way. I'm pretty sure we won't see this kid again, and that he'll have no impact in the success of this run. So we're off to get our promised Tailo, and after 19 encounters, we get our tiny burb named Birdemic. Amazing film if you haven't seen it. And it does have guts, so this is going to be massive. So we make our way through to Petalburg Woods. So through the power of not drugs, we're able to get our team to a reasonable level and get Wurmple to evolve into Cascoon, which means we'll get a Dustox. We'll keep going into Petalburg Woods to find a grunt who was creeping on this poor dude in the forest for his papers. And after beating him, we get our Petalburg Woods encounter, tip the Shroomish, and we make it to Rosborough City. So, right before our challenge with Roxanne, get it? Roxanne? We get our team up to the level cap, and we face the first gym leader with a clear advantage. Basically, if everything goes according to plan, we sweep with either Tip or Splinter, but there are a couple problems for that. So first, the Geodude has Sturdy, which means it's a 2-hit KO, and after the potion and everything, it doesn't really matter because Mega Drain is going to heal us back to full health. That speed drop is a little bit trickier, but it doesn't really matter because the other problem is how bulky Nosepass is. And it doesn't really matter either because we're going to Leech Seed and just hit Mega Drain until this thing is dead. Yes, I wanted to set it like a more complicated thing than it actually is, but it's a Rock type gym leader with 2 Pokemon, and I have 2 Grass types and a Water type in the back, fast enough to solve the tricky situation. So 1 badge, 7 to go. So we keep it going onto Route 116, check the Rust Turf Tunnel, and turns out the guy who had his papers checked before now had his parts stolen. So we need to get his parts checked. In this route, we'd like to get an Incada, but not for the reasons you might think. So in here we could get a Wishmer, Skitty, or an Incada, and in Rust Turf Tunnel we can only get a Wishmer. So to increase our chances of a Incada, we repair our way through Route 116, and we let the magic of encounter routing do its magic. Turns out the thief not only stole someone's parts, but also stole someone else's bird. Let this be a lesson for you kids. If you steal, I'll get my mushroom to beat your dog up. So we get everyone their stolen items, and we get yet another task to look for Steven, well, just an excuse to travel to Dewford, where we have the next gym fight. So we get to Dewford with our pre-poisoned Tailo, we breeze past the trainers with Moin, and we get to the fight with Brawly. Get it? Brawly, as in brawl for fighting. And I'm not even going to pretend this was tricky, because it was basically kicking on wing attack twice with Tailo, and yeah, it was done. On to Granite Cave we go, looking for Stephen and something that resists electric, but we get a Makuhita big mistake here, but we'll have to make it work. So we check this not ominous at all artwork on the walls. We meet Stephen and deliver the letter. Finally, we don't have a task where we can focus on delivering someone's parts to another guy in the next city. Turns out this guy wasn't even where he was supposed to, so we have to go to the museum to check the history of submarine exploration. We deliver the parts and get jumped by another 2 grunts because they didn't learn the lesson, so let's get another version of it.
Swipe or no swiping!
And once they are defeated, their boss shows up and he spares us the time it would take to wipe the floor with him. And he has some kind of plan to make a park or something. I don't know if they change him for the remake. Oh nice, contests. Another game mechanic to ignore. On our way to Mobile, we have another encounter with the boss's daughter, this time with something that starts looking more like a team. So I screwed up and I opened with Wingle against a Whalmer, meaning if I wanted to damage this thing, I needed to switch. So we send in Tip, that turns out it had poison heal all this time, so after a while we deal with the super bulky Whalmer. And now, the big problem we have at this point, we have nothing to switch into Combustion reliably, and it should go for a fire type move. We send in Wingle, but he decides to go for a double kick, which puts us in a tricky spot because we're definitely dead to grit or even another double kick. So this is going to be our first sack. We go for a water pulse, hoping for a confusion. He goes for a flame charge, make it +1, and a second flame charge, putting it at +2 speed. And this is getting awkward. So thankfully, the AI is kind of dumb and goes for a sand attack and we can kill it with our verb. Next, we have a Shroomish that we can definitely deal with. It's a shame we had to sack the Wingle, but I'm pretty sure we'll find more water types along the way. So we get our encounter in Route 110, an Electrike, and once we get to Morville, hey, it's the kid with the cute alien. Looks alright. So we get a free bike, don't ask me where he gets them to be able to give them away, and we go to Route 117 for another encounter, and we get the perfect one, another Electric Resist. Our box is looking awfully grassy at this point, but well, Hoenn is known for its water types, right? So next, we find this Oddish to poison our mistake, and we are ready to go to Watson. But first, let's see how Wally's doing. Oh, damn, he looks driven. As a trainer, not doing so good. Oh, Watson. Get it? Watson, as in the watts that determine electric power. So the team is basically Mistake and others. Since Mistake has guts and can deal with the steel types, it should be able to deal with Magnemite and, well, that work well. So we send in our Nikeda, who is immune to electric attacks. We actually stopped it from evolving for this. We use Sand Attack a couple times just in case Rollout gets out of hand, and we're able to kill the angry ball. In comes the Magneton. We take 1 hit from ourselves and another one from it. We're only dead to crit, so we hit it with another Mud Slap, and we bring in Tip. If attacking didn't work, Stall will. In the Tip, on the lead seed, and now we just wait. So he ball switches right before it dies, but we can do exactly the same thing to its jumping. We lead seed and we wait again. Lucky us, they switch, and we set them on the Magneton, who should be dead in a couple turns. To make sure our Tip is safe, we send in Electrike, and knowing that Magnemite has nothing to hurt us, we can trade blows until we send in Grovyle to seal the deal. Third badge in the back, and only 1 Pokemon down. This is going reasonably good. And now that we are done with the electric types, we can get our water encounters. We get a Tentacle in Dewford and a Magikarp in Route 109. And with that, we're ready to go north, starting with Route 111, where we'll wait to get something good in the desert, Route 112, where we'll get another Pokemon with guts, and a Cuffing in the Fiery Path. Oh, cool, hidden bases, another game mechanic to ignore. We get a Dancing Boy in Route 113, and when we get to Falabo Town, turns out someone has kidnapped Professor, I assume again to steal his parts. So we'll save these encounters for later, go straight to saving the guy in Meteor Falls. When we get there, turns out they already stole his parts, and these are called meteorites. Kind of grandiose for some parts, but whatever. We team up with May for a double fight that starts with a coughing blowing itself up, only to not kill anything, and it ends with a poor Numel that stands no chance. Teamwork. All of a sudden, Jim Sparrow appears and lets them take these guys' meteorites, so we have to go to Mount Chimney for them. We decide to go to Morville with May, and this is actually a fatal mistake. So it turns out they changed the way Rock Smash encounters worked, and now they're unblocked by repels. So we get Geodude. Don't get me wrong, I love the guy, but I would take a Flygon anytime. But well, we used the trip to Moville to make a cheeky purchase. So on to Mount Chimney we go. Not sure how the cable car is working in the middle of an eruption, but that's commitment to the job. When we get to the top, we find all the boys in blue and in red making their dogs fight. And as we go around the crater of an active volcano, what better place for a friendly Pokemon duel? We start with a grunt, check with a Tabitha next. After getting pretty angry at the guy who only brought an exploding coughing to the double battle, but turns out it was wrong coughing all along. We deal with it with mistake, and thank God he's bulky enough to take the self-destruct, and Jelly takes care of the normal. And now the big boss, Maxie. After explaining his whole evil plan, classic bad guy stuff, he starts the fight with Mighty Anna, who has Intimidate, first setback for Splinter, so we Giga Drain as he swaggers and we get roared out into Tentacle. We're able to confuse it and bring back Splinter, and now he's hitting himself, Tommy. As he sends out Camerupt, we're going to take a big hit, so we sent out a Burb to ensure he doesn't go for a ground move next. In retrospect, this was a pretty dumb move because he was definitely going for a fire type move against our Splinter. Although a crit here would have been catastrophic, Swallow is able to take it. We get the switch to Jelly, taking nothing from the lava plume, but as expected, we are dead to Earth Power. Swallow comes in to clean up my mess, and that leaves just the Golbat, who's just fodder for Manic Trick. Only 2 deaths, both of them water type, and the next gym is Flannery. Good times. On to the Jack Pass we go to find a Numel, very useful for the next gem, and we reach Lava Ridge Town, where we go straight to Flannery. Flannery as in the flummery, as in the flames that fire types have? Yeah, that one's a stretch. Even she's angry about it. So for Flannery we have the plan we should have had for Maxie, Gyarados. Like, if the fire type from this generation is fire ground, you don't bring an unevolved water poison to fight it. But hey, it's all a learning curve. So we start with Behemoth and start just hitting Dragon Rage, which at this stage is a guaranteed 2-hit KO for almost everything. So first the Slugma, then the Torkoal, and finally the Numel. Easy peasy, Dragon Rage, squeezing. So we run into May, kind of late to the party, but she gives us the gold goggles to go check the desert. We pick the Why Not egg, and we catch an illegal Pokemon. And this should count as about 111, but I wasn't... Yeah, don't worry, it's going to stay in the books forever. So, time to beat up that. And we go through all of these specialty rooms, more like Guts rooms, because basically we just dealt with them with Mistake and Pandemic. And then Norman. Get it? As in normal? Like the normal types that he uses? Come on, this one was just there. First, slacking on the field, we send in Gyarados first to get the Intimidate. And we throw a Dragon Rage just for good measure. That yawn makes a switch on the Truant turn, but we can hold on the Retaliate and kill with Force Palm with Mistake. Not sure if the crit actually mattered there. Next is the Vigoroth, so we send in Bold Glass, we can definitely take the Retaliate, and after trading some blows, I think this was actually a bad play, we send in our Burb on Norman's Potion turn, and we finish it off with a Facade. And in comes the final slacking with another Retaliate. And this time we send in Gyarados, then again to Intimidate, and he doesn't even use Retaliate. So we'd use Dragon Rage again on the Truant turn. We do get Retaliated, showing how lucky we've been, because that would have been... yeah, we would have been dead if it was a boosted one. On the next Truant turn, we send in our Burb to finish it off with a Facade. That's for all the birthdays you missed playing with your caveman Snorlax there, Dad. I mean, we played horribly the last couple gyms, but made it through. Right outside the gym, Wally gives us Surf, and we finally get to enjoy everything Hoenn has to offer. Water, that is. But before we keep it going, we need to celebrate love and joining these two who could have just easily jumped over these rocks, to be honest. And we're off to Fort Tree. On Route 118, we meet with Steven, and all of a sudden, Latios appears. Sorry, Latias is kind of wrong to classify you. I'll call you Latias. It takes us on a ride to an island where it turns out there's another Latias. 2 grunts appear out of nowhere. I mean, we were only able to reach this because they flew us, but well, they won a battle. And are you familiar with the main character identifiers? Because you can definitely tell which one is just a rando and which one is kind of relevant, just because of that purple-ish hair. So the battle is basically Gyarados using Surf twice, and the whole thing is done. So much for relevant battles. Anyway, we heal the dragon, and he forced us to take him by sending one of our friends to the box. I don't know you, I don't trust you, so you can bugger off. Oh, this is going to be the fly mechanic later on. Oh yeah, then it's all good. Come on in. And it also comes with the Mega Bracelet. I mean, pal, it was all a joke. We keep it going towards 4-3 onto Route 119, and we make it to the Weather Institute under the rain, and look who it is, the guys in red. We can leave ladies where they belong in the PC as every other legendary we got in our Nuzlocke. So we make our way through some grunts, only to find Tabitha again. This time she's releasing her anger on this poor scientist. And this time we learn our lesson, and we open with Gyarados on the camera, and we just hit it with Surf twice. And that's it. Where's the exploding coughing? Anyway, she tells us where she's going to be later. We parkour a little bit inside, and we get a super useful castful. I'm pretty sure we'll use this at some point. As we keep it going towards 4-3, we run into May, who wants another battle. Last time that went well. This time we open with our Manectric, a way safer bet against Whalmer than Wingull, and Birdemic takes care of both the Shroomish and the Combusken. See, now that I plan ahead, this is much easier. She gives us a pretty redundant HM, and we finally make it to 4-3. Before we can go to the Flying type gym, we need to get rid of the force that blocks the entrance, so Steven is offering some help with that. But just in case it's a Pokemon and we waste our encounter, we go fishing to get a Barboach. And as we look through the sci-fi glasses, we see... Look, it's a shiny subscribe button. Never seen one of those in the wild, make sure you catch it. We ended up breaking the subscribe button, but with the DeviantScope we can get to the next gym. And onto the Winona fight we go. Get it? Windona, as in the wind that birds used to fly. So having our Manectric and a Gyarados with Ice Fang, this one is pretty straightforward as well. Swallow, discharge. Altaria comes in to Earthquake, switch into Gyarados and use Ice Fang. Pelipper, this thing can do nothing to Gyarados, but it can stall it.
Dodge this.
You know what it can stall? That's right, a discharge. Skarmory, not even close. And with that, 6 badges, 2 to go. On our way to Lilycove, we get to Route 121 and we find a potential team mascot, and we need to fight May again to unlock the power of capitalism. So here we go. He opens with Swallow against our Manectric, easy one there. Next comes a Wailord, same as before. Next comes a Blaziken, and this makes us finally switch into Behemoth, and with a couple hits, we deal with it. Finally, we get a Breloom that we can deal with thanks to Ice Fangs, and they actually made Gyarados even better with this awesome coverage. To make sure nothing weird happens, we just send in Splinter, and we use the Mega for the first time. Next is Mount Pyre, the equivalent to Pokemon Tower but in a mountain. We need to be spooky to blend in with the general spookiness of the place. That definitely helps us get a Duskull. We make it to the top where we have some grunts lined up waiting to fight us, exactly like Pokemon Tower. The only difference is that there's no Matricide in this place. Only guys in red trying to steal one ball and leaving us blue balled. And if you thought the touching each other's parts bit was on the nose, you don't know what's coming.
That's what she said!
Anyway, we get to fight Corny, the super menacing girl with just one Camerupt that dies to a single Aqua Tail from our Behemoth. We get the blue ball, interrupt this funeral to steal the Shadow Ball TM, and we go get some encounters, starting with Route 123, where we get a ton of Kecleon, and boy, this is going to be a pain. Such a pain that it comes to a point where we are, where they are chipping us little by little. We can't run, and we end up killing them all just to keep our camera up. We teach flight to our only flightless bird to be able to get to Slateboard just in time to see the captain whose parts were handled, and gave back, show his underwater device, and for said device to get stolen in front of our noses. We need to run to get them in their hideout in Lilycove, avoid as many runs as possible, get lost in the teleporters, get an Electrode encounter for the section, pick up a Master Ball, kill 5 dogs in one go, fight again Corny and her poor Camerupt, like seriously just get some backup for this thing please, and see them go in the submarine again. Well, that's that. End of the world. See ya. I'm off to be a champion while I still can. We go through Route 124 to Mossip City for the Tate and Laza fight, but first, a couple encounters. First, Route 115, where we get a Swablu, super useful. Next, Petalburg, where we get a Marill, super useful as well. And then after 6 badges, we finally go to get the cut HM. Lovely to see they are not just forcing these moves that much. And back to Route 123 for the greatest guide in the world. This dude that gives you a Gyarados and an Eviolite. The only price to pay was having to destroy the thing we love most. And we're ready for Tate and Liza. Get it? As in tantalizing like the psychic energy they use? I mean, it's either that or something about them predicting Andrew Tate. and I don't think they refer to that. So in this game, this fight has been obscenely nerfed. They only have 2 Pokemon, both of them weak to the same types, so we go in with a wall like Eviolite, Dusclops and Mega Sceptile to go for Leaf Blades, 2 turns, another badge, only 1 to go. As we come out, disaster strikes. The apocalypse is here, guess, well, that we have to solve, or we can just let these 2 handle it like they're already there. So Steven gives us the dive, because apparently all of the swimmers in Route 128 combined cannot deal with some dudes with fire types. Anyway, the end of the world is so important, we need some more encounters and goodies, so we go to the Scorched Slab looking for an old friend. We get the most broken Pokemon ever, not that we will actually use it, I just wanted to feel better for saying I'm banning Shedinja, but Ninjask makes for a reasonably good full swipe user. We get to Route 118 to get a Carvana, then Route 122 for a Wilmer, and off we go with a new team to take on the big baddies. We get Chinchou underwater, not sure how our dog is actually breathing, but, well, Pokemon logic. We touch base in Sotopolis, and we get to the Seafloor Cave, and it only took us about an hour to get there after the laser beam to space, so I'm pretty sure they haven't done anything with that time. As per usual, we find a bunch of grunts to avoid, some puzzles, some better, some worse, and it definitely didn't take me 4 tries to get this one right. And we finally get to Maxi, and his plan was to wake up something that pretty much turned all the planet into a desert the last time it was awake. So, the final fight with Maxi. We open with Mistake into Mightyena, so we hit Fake Out for tempo and Power Up Punch to kill. In comes a Weezing and we paralyze it with Force Palm, and we send in Bolt Blast to resist anything they throw at us. For example, exploding. In comes a Crobat, so we Rock Polish and hit it with a Rock Blast. We don't kill, but we repeat the same play. After all, this can't touch us. And in comes the Camerupt. This was the problem the first time, and it kind of is a problem now, as we had to leave the Gyarados in the box to avoid filling it up with useless HMs. But for every problem, a solution, since Graveler is faster than Camerupt and it one-shots with Earthquake. So we beat Maxi, but he still decides to release Groudon. Kind of a dick move. Weather alert, it's hot outside. Or now you decide to show up. What, you knew Groudon sweeps your whole team and never even bother, right? And don't even give us a lift to Sotopolis? Oh, screw you. We emerge in Sotopolis, head to Origin Cave, meet Wallace, who's given us a really weird look, like, dude, I'm 10. We meet a magma suit, well, we get a magma suit from Maxi, and I find a pattern here. And this applies to Steven, Maxi, and also every single elite or champion you meet during the evil team thingy. Except Lance. Lance is a little bit too intense, but at least he does something. These people could definitely do what I'm going to do, but they are too afraid they're going to break nail, so they decide to send a 10-year-old to face a god in a cave that is getting turned into actual lava. You guys are the worst. See, even May got here faster when called. You guys suck. Sorry I called you not up earlier. Cool. So, we put on our big boy magma suit, and we go face Groudon. Well, more than face, we get to ride Groudon, which would have been awesome if it wasn't just a cutscene. And in the deepest lava pit, we decide to take off the lava suit for some reason. And after the whole transformation, the fight. And I have a whole plan for this. So this is going to be, well, it is going to have desolate land, so we can't attack it with water. And it does have a spooky ground typing to threaten our Bolt Blast. And it could have, yeah, we just threw a Master Ball at it. And just like that, threat is gone, the sun blows up, people are happy, and we are good to keep going. Remember, the challenge was to beat the league, not to defeat a god with our balls. And after all that, we can use Latias to fly around, and the first thing we find is a flock of Braviary in the sky. Didn't actually know we get Gen 5 Pokemon before we beat the champion. Speaking of which, we get to challenge the Sotopolis gym, which actually takes a while, not gonna lie, and I kind of struggled with the ice puzzle, and we finally get the champion in Sotopolis. What do you mean he's not? Like, it's Wallace, and this is Ruby, right? Well, anyway, we get to fight Wallace, get it? As in, wall of water behind him? Thank God we don't have that many of these to go. Still, I don't like how he's looking at me. And the last gym leader opens with a freaking love disc. Are we starting from the beginning? Next is something more respectable, a Wishcash, so we switch to Birdemic on the ground move. He uses Mud Sport, meaning we can't bring Electric right after, but Facade gets rid of the Wishcash. And next comes the big one, Milotic. We are baiting an ice move, so we switch into our tank to take it after realizing, yeah, it's a good tank, but we can't damage this thing. So we bring out Mistake, who after a Fake Out, a Power Punch, and a Force Palm, gets rid of the Milotic, and inadvertently, we set up the sweep, as we get rid of the Celio and the Sea King to get our final batch. And right away, we get going towards Evergrande City and Victory Road. We go through the puzzles and a couple of tricky fights, like this Frostlass that almost killed half my team. And we get to the final fight before the leak. The king of character development, Wally. The scrawny kid that turned into a confident, well, kid, it's just 3-4 hours later. He can't grow up that much, but he definitely puts up a fight. We start with Gyarados into his Altaria, we set up a Dragon Dance, and we kill with Ice Fang. Next comes a Magneton, which we completely wall with Camerupt, and it only takes 2 Earth Powers to get rid of it. Next comes a Roselia, he didn't get the National Dex, and after a Lava Plume, it's gone. In comes Delcatty, and in comes Mistake to get rid of it. Start with a Fake Out, follow up with Close Combat to make sure it's gone. And in comes the Gallade. We just used Close Combat, so we need to switch. We bring in Zeppelin, and he Mega Evolves and kills our Wailord. Looked like we were going to use it, but that definitely stings. We decide to bring in our own Mega Sceptile. We go for X-Scissor, big mistake. He goes for Close Combat and kills our starter. We have to send in our bird to finally get rid of the Gallade. It's a big toll to pay before the Elite Four. Don't know if I should be happy for Wally or angry at myself for the couple bad plays and not bringing enough potions for Victory Road. Because I'll do both. And we can finally focus on the big one, the Elite Four. This means encounters, learn sets, items. It's actually one of the longest bits, but we're going to summarize it real quick. We get the Root Fossil for Credily in the Desert, Skrelp in Route 105, Relation Route 106, Relicanth Underwater in Route 107, Spiritomb in Sea Mobile, well, almost, Magnemite in New Mobile, Scorpy in 114, Bagon in Medium Force. We hatch the egg in Morville, turns out it's a Togepi instead of a Whatnot. We get a Campbell in Route 124, Seal in 125, and Snorunt in Shoal Cave, and Feebas in Route 119. And there's one honourable mention. We found a Cresselia in Mirage Island. We still have that policy of not using legendaries, so we left it there. But yeah, just funny how you can find weird stuff when you look hard enough. And for the items, important ones in addition to the ones that we already had, we get a Black Sludge on this Grimer, and we get a Life Orb on this Absol. And with that, we're ready for the league. Cue the introductions. The journey ends here. We face the Elite Four, and we start with our Bane from the last one, the Dark type Elite Four. So we face Sydney, get it, it's an anagram for Disney, and that's kind of evil, who opens with Mighty Inna. We send Runner in and we start dazzling him. In comes our Sharpedo, and the dazzling just continues, although we get poisoned. Next comes Shiftry, and we send in our Bug to make sure we keep Togekiss. After 2 fail swingers, we're able to get rid of the Shiftry, and we are at +2 attack. Next comes the Absol, and we can definitely go for our stab move. And finally, in comes a Cacturn that goes for Spiky Shield, but there's very little he can do to keep us from beating the first Elite Four member. Next comes Phoebe. Get it? Like the Greek goddess of the moon and goes showing up at night. Yeah, she's a ghost type specialist, and against that, we have a couple aces up our sleeve. We open with Behemoth into her Dusclops, and we wrap it up with 2 Crunches. Next comes the Dusknoir, and knowing that the Dusclops set up Future Sight before dying, we Mega Evolve to become immune to it, and add Stab to our Crunch, and lose the 4 times weakness to the electric attack that this Dusknoir was going to throw at us. We keep it going with the same plan on the next turn, and this time we're able to beat it. Next comes a Sableye. Knowing we can't kill it in one shot, we go for a Dragon Dance and Waterfall to get rid of the pesky Goblin. The Bayonet is no match for our Crunch, and the second Bayonet doesn't change its tune. Second member of the Elite Four, done. The next one is going to be a little bit trickier, and this was one of the big hurdles in the planning for the Elite Four. It's going to be Glacier, get it, as in glacial for the eyes, and her eyesight come next. The first hurdle is going to be a Glalie against Mistake. We go for Power Up Punch twice, and get rid of it, and get a +2 attack. Next comes a Frostlass, and with our increased attack and help of a crit, we get rid of it with Knockoff. Another one comes in, throws a Blizzard at us. A crit would have been really, really bad, but Mistake is able to hold and recovers some health with a Citrus Berry, and shows that the crit didn't actually matter in the previous one. Next, a Wall Rain, and it's time to switch into Savior. We go for Thunderbolt to get rid of it. And finally, another Glalie that cannot take a Flash Cannon, and only one of the Elite Four to go. And Drake is next. Get it for the dragons. I mean, the last two were a little bit more on the nose. And for this one, we will take advantage of the amazing coverage that Gyarados has. He opens with Altaria, we set up one Dragon Dance, he goes for Cotton Guard, next we Mega Evolve, and we almost get rid of it with an Ice Fang. But he's not able to take two in a row. Next, a Flygon, who definitely cannot take an Ice Fang. Oh, look, a Salamence. Guess this can't take an Ice Fang either. Another Flygon, same as the one before him. And finally, a Kingdra. And this one might not die to an Ice Fang, so we go for 2 crunches as he yawns, and we finish the Elite Four. And the last battle, the most challenging one so far, against Steven. But you might think, Steven is a pretty normal name. Well, his full name is Steven Stone, which would be great if it was a rock-type specialist, but no, he had to go with steel types, although his name is Stone. So it had to be the last one where they screwed up all the puns that we have been doing during the whole Nuzlocke. And I'm just going to channel that anger into the fight. He opens with Skarmory against our Savior. He sets spikes as we Thunderbolt. Next turn, we Volt Switch to bring in Behemoth to be able to set up a Dragon Dance on a weakened Skarmory and finish it with our Waterfall. Next comes Aggron, wanting to use a Rock-type move, but we Mega Evolve to get rid of the Rock weakness, and we're able to kill it with Waterfall. Next comes Amaldo, and we go for Ice Fang, but he goes for X-Scissor, dealing massive damage to our Behemoth. Maybe that Mega Evolving, maybe it wasn't that good of an idea. We switch in Mistake to take the X-Scissor, go for Fake Out for chip damage, and finish it with Close Combat. Good thing that we used the only White Herb in the game on the final battle to not die to the next attack. Anyway, here comes a Claydol that would definitely kill us. Anyway, knowing that the next Pokemon is definitely not going to be gentle on Mistake, we decide to sack it and to get a clean switch into Behemoth. We are definitely in a tight spot, but he's able to kill the Claydol. Next comes a Cradily, and being at low health and being spikes on the field, we need to sack Behemoth as well. In comes Bug to hit it with 4 Life Orb boosted Night Slashes to get rid of this monstrosity, this super bulky thing, and in the end Bug falls to the Life Orb recoil. Next comes Steven Says, Metagross, and we sent in our Savior. He goes for Giga Impact as we go for Metal Sound to lower its special defense, and thank God he just thinks that Giga Impact is the thing that will do the most damage to Savior, because it goes for it twice, and we can finish the fight with 2 Thunderbolts. And with that, we beat the Omega Ruby Nuzlocke. 2 out of 3, not terrible. I kind of feel like this one was a little bit easier, maybe the original Emerald was trickier. We should try it someday, totally. But there's a definitive lesson to be learned. The Pokemon that carried us through this run weren't the ones that we were targeting, but the ones we did not appreciate as we should. Maybe the important thing is not to plan every single step ahead, but to be able to make the most of the team we have around us. Because when push comes to shove, the people around you are the ones to lift you up, especially if they have guts. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.